Hey Meno Warriors, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about menopause and osteoarthritis. If you find these videos helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. I'm always keen to hear your experiences, and if there's anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, just send me a message and I'd be happy to add that to the rotation. Being diagnosed with osteoarthritis, it can have a real debilitating effect, not just on how you think your life is going to go forward from now, but it can really fill you with a lot of despair and frustration as to how to move forward. It can really make you feel as though you can no longer be an active participant in your life. And there are, in fact, a lot of similarities between the joint pain that you might get with menopause and also osteoarthritis. So, how do you know whether it's menopause or osteoarthritis? Osteoarthritis in general tends to be worse in the morning because it's largely related to inflammation. I'll go into that in a little while. But when you've been sat for a long period of time or lying down for a long period of time, you have an accumulation of those inflammatory cells within your body. You'll find that as you start to move around, then that inflammation subsides and you can move around more easily. It can also lead to some swelling, local swelling, if you've taken part in some activity. Activity actually is going to be your best friend, but the right kind of activity. I think a lot of people get that diagnosis and think, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do anything again. I know people with osteoarthritis that they've built themselves up, but eventually they've even gone back to running. So please don't let it be that thought process that you're no longer able to do anything and that essentially you're going to end up in a disabled way because you can't climb the stairs, you can't get out of your seat or easily get back into your seat. So I think the hardest part of an osteoarthritis diagnosis is really worrying, well, how do you move forward from this? Over 50% of women who experience menopause will also experience joint pain. I went through a phase of joint pain with my menopause. I don't have osteoarthritis, but I would get out of bed in the morning and I could barely walk. I was like the Tin Man without any oil. And the way I overcame that was obviously I do regular exercise. I exercise 4, 5, 6 times a week. But I cut out my caffeine, I followed an anti-inflammatory diet, and I started taking a vitamin E supplement with the 4 tocopherols and the 4 tocotrienols. That got rid of my joint pain. I now drink coffee again, and I no longer take the vitamin E supplement. It seemed to just get rid of the inflammation that I had for a long enough period of time for me to then come back and no longer need to cut out caffeine and have that vitamin E supplement. If you're taking a supplement and you find that it's helping, keep up with that. There's a lot of joint specific supplements out there, and then indeed menopause joint pain specific supplements out there, which might not have enough of the active ingredients to actually make much of an impact. If you find that they are helping you, keep on with them. If they're not, well, save your money. I think the best way with supplements, and that's how I always try mine out, is to take them for sort of 3-4 weeks. Are you noticing a significant improvement in your symptoms? If you are, continue with them. If you're not, well, just save your money and don't buy any more. In today's video, we're going to cover 3 major points that you can focus on as far as helping your osteoarthritis throughout the menopause. But just to briefly explain why we get joint pain in menopause. As our estrogen levels fall, estrogen has an anti-inflammatory effect on the body. It also is responsible for keeping our skin, our connective tissue, our cartilage within our joints, our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments strong. So when cortisol falls, that's when we can see significant impact in our loss of muscle mass. It leads to increased risk of osteoporosis, so brittle bone disease. It also has a negative impact on our elastic tissue, so we get more wrinkly. We can struggle with more joint pain because it can affect the cartilage. So the cartilage may start to degenerate with the falling levels of estrogen. As estrogen falls, cortisol rises. Cortisol has a catabolic effect on the body. It essentially breaks tissues down. So again, that is why we're at more risk of developing brittle bone disease. That is why you'll see, as you go through menopause and beyond, you'll think, oh my God, where did my muscles go? My muscle mass has fallen away. My joints are aching. I don't have the strength that I used to do. My mobility's decreased. I'm unstable. I keep falling over or tripping over things when I never used to do before. My reflexes have slowed down. That is largely because of the cortisol rising as we go through menopause. The cartilage it acts like a cushion in between our joints. Most of our joints are synovial joints, which means that they're within a synovial capsule. That means that we have synovial fluid within the joint, which then feeds the cartilage. That is why movement is such an important aspect of a healthy life, because movement stimulates that synovial fluid to nurture and to feed the cartilage. And obviously, we want to do everything we can to keep that cartilage strong and nicely buffered so that we're not having joints on joints. I've read accounts of women who have had that osteoarthritis diagnosis. They are pretty much joint on joint because of the disintegration of their cartilage, and they have resumed their hiking activities. And I don't mean hiking as in just going for a long walk. I mean hiking up the mountains and down. And as somebody who loves hiking up and down mountains, I know the pressure that it puts on your knees and your hips. And they resume that, not immediately, but with, consistent action of the right things and activity of the right things over the course of sort of 2-3 years. They've got back into those activities that really give them joy for life. And that is what is so important. It's really important to have your mindset knowing that you can make significant improvements. Often when we get these diagnoses, it really is an all or nothing thing. It's just like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm going to just crumble. It's not like that at all. When you have that understanding that there is so much that you still can do. So the good news is that there is more emerging research suggesting that osteoarthritis is more related to low-grade chronic inflammation, so low-grade over a long period of time inflammation, rather than the prototypical degenerative disorder that we've associated with it in the past. If you think, well, it's only going to get worse, that's really awful. But if you think, okay, if it's related to low-grade chronic inflammation, I can reduce my own inflammation. So when we talk about reducing inflammation, we want to look at three key areas. Those are food and drink, movement, and our emotions. So just talking about food and drink first, I know when I did a 4-week gut healing program, my menopause symptoms vanished. I actually felt like an imposter. It was just like, well, how can I show up for my Menopause Monday videos because my symptoms have gone? And it had an incredibly powerful impact, not just on my symptoms, but I just felt cleaner, I felt lighter, I felt even more energized, I was sleeping better. I really felt in control of my life. And it was just taking out inflammatory type food. So we removed dairy to begin with, we removed gluten to begin with, and then, various other things. And then we add them back into our regime to see which have an inflammatory marker on us and which don't, because we don't all get inflammation from the same types of things, which is really important to document or journal just for a few weeks to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Drink also, we tend to ignore what we're drinking, whether that's alcohol, whether it's sodas, whether it's sugary drinks, and artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are a nightmare for your joint pain. Do the SMINT test, and I really hope SMINT never come at me for this, but I remember driving along and I rarely ever have sweets or anything like that, or chewing gum. And there was just one day, I can't remember, I was quite tired, I was thirsty, I'd gone out and I hadn't brought water with me, I was hungry, it was right at the end of the day. I just thought, oh, I've got some Smints in my car, I'll just pop one of those until I get home and then I have something to eat. And I had this Smint, and literally within seconds, I could feel it in my knees, I could feel it in my ankles, I could feel it in my wrists and my elbows. And that was the only thing that had changed. And it was such an immediate response that I gave it a couple of days just to get the SMINT well and truly out of my system. Did the SMINT test again, exactly the same thing happened. So be really aware. I mean, there's so much documented evidence out there about the negative impact of artificial sweeteners, but just be mindful of the stuff that you are eating and drinking, because a lot of the low sugar drinks have got artificial sweeteners in them. Ideally, stick to water. You might think it's boring, but you can pimp water up. I love a glass of red wine at night or two. I don't find that has an inflammatory effect on me. We all respond differently, particularly as we go through menopause. I was laughing at an article that I found a couple of days ago, and somebody was saying, I can't believe it. I used to love drinking this, that, and the other, and they can't tolerate it anymore. Certainly my ability to drink alcohol, which is probably a good thing, has gone down significantly. After 2.5 glasses, that's it. I can start to feel, ooh, it's probably a little bit too much now. which is great because it's like my own safety valve is going off. It was back in the day. Dread to think. So just be very mindful of what you're eating and drinking. You want healthy fish oils. Now, I say healthy fish oils because if you're going to take a fish oil supplement, make sure you're getting a good quality one. You want to make sure that you're steering clear of the heavy metals. And I think we all think, oh, well, we know fish is good for us, but then is it poisoned with all the heavy metals out there in the sea? So make sure you're getting a high quality fish oil if you're going to take that as a supplement. Try and eat things like sardines and tuna, but again, try and be aware of where it's coming from so that you can mitigate that risk of heavy metal toxicity. Green leafy vegetables are absolutely going to be your best friend. If you can eat more vegetables, try and aim for 5 portions a day. You might think, oh my God, that's massive. I try and eat 8 a day, and I feel amazing when I hit my 8 a day target. I make sure most mornings I have vegetables for my breakfast too. This morning I just had a round of home-baked bread as toast with a poached egg and some edamame. I can never say, I don't even know how to say the edamame, those beans. And or sometimes I have green beans with it. And that keeps me going for ages. It's good, it's high in protein, it's got all sorts of healthy fats with it, it's not too many carbs, it's got the good vegetables, and that keeps me going for a long, long period of time. I will be coming on to protein in a minute. So, and nuts, legumes, they're healthy for us. I can eat them, but they give me terrible gas. And you need to understand what works best for you. But you're looking for real food. It just beggars belief that we live in this society where we're the minority when we eat real food. Stuff that's in packets, even when it says natural or organic or healthy, or it's got pictures of things running around in the wild on the front of it. Just turn the packet around. If it's packaged, it's probably not as healthy as the real deal. If you're thinking, I can't afford to buy loads of vegetables or fruit, buy it frozen. Often, I nearly always buy frozen vegetables and frozen fruit. I actually think they have more nutritional goodness in them. They cost a lot less than the fresh variety, and as long as you've got a bit of a freezer space to stick them in, I think you're good to go with fresh veggies and fresh fruits. They're quick and easy to prepare, and it means you can grab and go. The next is movement. Now, movement is incredibly important for you, whether you have osteoarthritis or not, whether you're in menopause or not, particularly strength training. And you might say, oh, I do walking, I do loads of walking. That's brilliant. Walking's really, really good for you. However, it's only in one direction. Most of us don't do sideways moves, we don't do crossbody moves. And that is when the injuries arise. The body almost goes into stress, thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to do a crossbody move. I know when there are certain workout programs that focus more on the crossbody movement to really strengthen the core, strengthen your obliques, strengthen your back, aid rotation of your upper body, because we do tend to get a bit stiff around the back and the sort of shoulder joints. And it's quite disconcerting when people start that particular program because they think they're going to injure themselves, but of course they don't, because it's done properly, it's done with good form, it's done slowly. It's strength training is an absolute necessity for you if you want to be healthy through your perimenopause and postmenopausal years. The reason for that is because, as I mentioned earlier, cortisol has that catabolic effect. It breaks down tissue, so you'll be losing muscle mass. We really need to work it to keep it, and we need to work it very intentionally as we get older so that we don't lose too much muscle mass. When you've got good muscle tone, you're going to reduce your risk of falls, you're going to reduce your risk of injury. If you do fall, you're going to bounce a bit better. By doing strength training, you're also strengthening your bones, because the muscles connect to the bones with tendons. So if we're strengthening our muscles, they are consistently pulling on the bones, on those attachment points. That helps to strengthen the bone, particularly when you're doing weight-bearing exercises. Just the movement itself, we're using gravity, that helps also to further strengthen our bones. We don't want strong, stiff bones. We want strong, flexible bones. Bones are designed to flex. And that's why it's so important that you incorporate strength training into your regime. It will also help have an anti-inflammatory effect on your body. As you do strength training, it also releases feel-good hormones, and it also helps you gobble up stress hormones. Strength training, I cannot recommend it highly enough, but it's important that you're doing the right kind of strength training, depending on how much osteoarthritis you have, depending on how degenerated your joints are, would really depend on the level of support that you would need. Just get started with a low impact strength training program. I have access to loads of those if you would like some support or help on those. I'll just share with you what works with me, and then I will, it's up to you whether you want to take that on or not. Next one is your emotions. We are surrounded by loads of stress, and we're never really going to be able to remove the stressors out there, but we can really work on how we allow stress to affect us. As we go through menopause, we tend to lose some of our resilience to stress as well. Things tend to get to us more easily. It's very important that we're aware of that and we take action in order to help reduce our reaction to stressors. Even your thoughts can create more stress. So I would highly recommend tuning into finding podcasts that you find really empowering, that you can just listen to while you're either lying in bed if you can't sleep at night, or you're doing the chores, or you're driving. Choose personal development books that are really going to support your mindset. Whenever I take on new team members, we work a lot with our personal mindset and our professional development. If you want a list of books that I recommend to people who need to build up some confidence, need to really work on being a solution finder rather than somebody who's giving up because they don't think they've got the ability to get through a particular problem, I've got a brilliant list of books that I can send to you. So again, if you'd like that, just send me a message. I'll send you that book list through to you. But our mindset really is absolutely key to keeping things calm within our systems. And if we feel that we have a sense of control over our journey, because we are intentionally moving, because we're focusing on anti-inflammatory foods and drinks, because we feel like we actually know something that puts us in the driver's seat, that will have a profound impact on how you feel and how you talk to yourself. We can be so mean to ourselves. Have you ever really listened to the stuff that goes on in your mind? It would be shocking if you did. This is a really useful exercise if you want to give it a try. Just allow yourself for 1 hour, everything that you think in your mind as you're going through your day, you'll be really conscious of it to begin with. You'll think, I never talk to myself negatively. Well, give it an hour or two. And then as soon as you have a thought, you think, because you probably won't even notice you're having these thoughts. So you've got to be really mindful about it. But you'll think, oh God, I didn't do that again. You're so lazy, or why can't I just get it right? Or oh gosh, you messed that up again. And oh gosh, you're such a failure because you haven't done this. Or oh, you're so pathetic because you won't lean into this thing that you need to do. We all do it. None of us is immune from the negative chatter, but when you can become aware of it, well, then you can stop it. And even if you're not consciously aware of it, subconsciously, it's amazing what goes on. I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a hypnotherapist. I deal with the subconscious a lot. That subconscious is responsible for pretty much every single decision we make in our lives, even though you probably don't think it is. So be aware of the internal chatter that's going on in your mind, because when it's cruel and mean, that is also increasing that low-grade inflammation. We want to be dampening the inflammation. We want to be living in a way, as much as we're able to, that we really feel that we are in control and that we feel calm and peaceful. A lovely book, just out totally off the top of my head, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a few years old now, but it's a great book. It's one of the first sort of that ilk type of book that I read. And The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks is another really great book. I highly recommend you dive into both of those. I don't think anybody could not find them helpful. And then finally, protein is really important as you go through menopause, and also if you have osteoarthritis. We need to increase the amounts of protein that we're eating through menopause and beyond. It's highly likely that you're not eating enough. Most people tend to eat between 40 and 50 grams of protein a day. As a base minimum, you ought to be aiming for around 100 grams a day. In actual fact, the way of working out how much protein you need is to work out what your ideal target weight is. So if you want to be 140 pounds, you ideally want to be aiming for 130 to 140 grams of protein as well. Particularly if you're strength training, you're not going to be getting as much out of your exercise if you're not eating protein. I recently started eating a small bowl of protein-filled stuff before I do my workout, and I am noticing that I'm able to get more from my workout, but I feel like I'm getting better definition in my muscles too, since adding that small amount of protein. I also have a protein shake, a proper muscle recovery protein shake without any fillers and nasty stuff in it. It's a really high quality one. I have that after I've done my workout. I also have a superfood shake later on in the day that also contains protein. So already I'm getting 3 sources of really high quality protein before I've even actually eaten a proper meal. I normally, after I finish my workout, I normally have a brunch that's high in protein. I include a mid-afternoon snack that is high in protein, and I will also make sure I've got high protein at dinner. And that way, when I'm eating like that, I also struggle to eat sufficient protein. If you're vegetarian, you may be even more challenged to eat sufficient protein. The great thing is, one of the best protein sources is milled flaxseed or milled linseed. It's essentially the same thing. So if you are vegetarian, make sure get yourself a big bag of milled flaxseed, milled linseed, and have that in your Greek yogurt or whatever it is that you have to kick your day off with, because obviously Greek yogurt is a good source of protein too. I also add some of the milled flaxseed and milled linseed into my superfood shake that I tend to have mid-afternoon. You could also have it in your post-recovery drink, so in your post-workout recovery drink. So it's really important that you are aware of the amount of protein that you need to eat. There are loads of free apps out there that can measure the amount of protein. I think MyFitnessPal, so I don't use a free app. I tend to use the guide that I put together, and so I know I've got a good idea of the amount of protein that I need to eat. And actually, you know what, because we're all quite lazy, we tend to have like our 5, 6 or 7 favorite meals anyway, don't we, that we just rotate. And so I know pretty much if I know most days I'm hitting my protein targets. I really notice it when I don't, particularly if I've got 2 or 3 days when I've not eaten particularly well. I feel sluggish, I feel hungry, I feel a bit like there in my head, and that protein makes a massive difference to me. I also take a collagen supplement most days, every day if I remember to take it, and I'm sure that contributes to healthy skin. I'm 53. I do drink a lot of water. I try and lead a pretty anti-inflammatory life, but I've got wrinkles. I haven't got any fillers or Botox or anything that you can see on my forehead wrinkles here. But I'm pretty convinced that eating protein, including collagen, and being really mindful about trying to live a healthy-ish life helps to keep you looking a bit youthful for a little bit longer. Just one caveat: if you have kidney problems, have a chat with your doctor first, because increasing your protein can have a negative impact if you have kidney issues. And just start to add a little bit more, rather than, if you're significantly underdoing it on the protein, rather than trying to add like an extra 100 grams all of a sudden overnight, just incorporate it in a couple more meals. Try and eat more vegetables as well, because there are very few of us that eat sufficient vegetables throughout the course of the day, and you will find that you will feel more energized. You'll probably lose weight more quickly. You'll become more regular, so your digestion's going to improve, and all of that has such a positive impact on just how you show up every single day. It's amazing the power that eating a wide range of good foods has on how you live your life. Finally, just believe that you can do this. If you firmly believe that you can achieve something, you will change your habits. You'll take slightly different actions. Those will compound into habits, which compound into behaviors that you no longer have to think about. You will benefit no end if you allow yourself to believe that you can achieve way more than you think you can. If you are telling yourself, oh, it's not going to work, how on earth can it? My cartilage is all buggered, it's degenerated, then it's probably not going to work, because you're not going to be invested in taking those actions to improve it. There has been so much research to suggest that you can reduce your inflammation. I mean, I got rid of my entire menopause symptoms by following a 4-week gut healing system. You know, you don't have to live in pain for the rest of your life just because you've got osteoarthritis, you're menopausal, you're getting older. You know, in this society, we tend to be reactive to our health. We tend to think, well, we need a pill to fix us. Or we wait until our pain is so severe that we then go for help eventually. And we've sort of got to the stage where it's almost out of control and you're in this sort of chaotic mess of wondering what to do and how to go forward. Understanding how to prevent chronic health problems is going to weigh so much in your favor. It's going to allow you to maintain a healthy, adventurous life. And you need to know that you can do this. You totally can. You're not the first to be in a position where you're thinking, I actually don't know what to do, and I'm in pain, and I'm a little bit scared. And then menopause hits and it makes things even worse. There is so much that you can do. Focus on reducing inflammation. That is absolutely key. It's been proven that reducing inflammation will help significantly reduce your osteoarthritis symptoms. It will also help reduce your menopause symptoms. What we eat and drink has a profound impact on how we show up every day. Incorporate strength training, low impact strength training. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, just needs to be low impact strength training. And if you have no weights, if you can't use weights yet, use your body weight, use gravity really effectively. I'm currently doing a body recomposition program. It's all about the mind muscle connection. I have learned so much by doing it myself already. That, even without weights, you'd still get amazing results from it. Focus on superfoods, foods high in antioxidants, the veggies, the protein. Again, that protein guide, I will drop a link beneath here for that. And just make sure that you're watching your thoughts. Speak kindly to yourself. We're in my body confidence group this month, because it's February at the time of recording this, and we are doing a 14-day self-love challenge, and day 2 was all about writing a love letter to ourselves. And when I first put it together, it's just like, oh, I think people are just going to think this is a bit naff. Oh my gosh, it was just so transformative. I gave us all a few prompts, you know, because it's difficult, isn't it? We're all programmed to not really be proud of ourselves and not really love ourselves properly. And my letter started with, I am so proud of you because, wow, that was quite, even brings tears to my eyes right now. All of us who did this letter, it was so empowering. So whenever you're watching this, whether it doesn't matter, it's December, July, June, whatever it might be, write yourself a love letter. Get into the habit of writing yourself a love letter maybe every month, so that you can really cherish where you're at, cherish you, cherish yourself, your journey through life. And yes, I think that's a nice way to leave this. So thank you for your company. If you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please drop it below. I hope this has been helpful. Remember, if you've not already done so, click the subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes, and I will catch you next week.